Less than a minute. Less than a minute. And we are live now.
Hello, everybody. A very warm welcome to this Zoom meeting and to those joining us on the YouTube live stream as well. We hope that you're all safe and doing well, and we're really pleased that you could be here with us today. We hope that you've had a great time on the Mooc over the past few weeks, that it's been a space for you to grow and to learn together and to interact with other people who have like-minded ambitions. It's given our team a great pleasure to see your comments over the past few weeks and to see how active you are and how diverse the participants are. We're also very excited that our Mooc has reached 100,000 participants as of this week. So more on that later. We've greatly enjoyed reading your comments, understanding the nuances of your different pronunciation difficulties. And today is really meant as a way for you to see who is behind the scenes, to get in touch with your mentors a little bit more, who you may have noticed commenting over the past few weeks, and also to be able to answer some of your questions and to pose them to our educator, Laura. And later on, we also have a little surprise for the most insightful comment and the person who really left comments that helped our community to grow. So I'd like to ask Dr. Laura Rupp to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. So as Alyssa said, I'm Laura Rupp. So I'm the educator on the Mooc. I also created the Mooc, but it couldn't have been without my team and also without, all of the learners for the Mooc to actually work and become a success. I'm a senior lecturer in English language and linguistics at Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam. So in addition to the Mooc, I teach regular courses at Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam. I would say all of them having to do with global English or language variation, such as global English, language, culture and variation, and also English international communication. And in addition to teaching, I also conduct research, and my research is, I would say, not so much actually in global English, but I study features of traditional dialects of English, so within England, and especially features that appear to be on their way out, so that are becoming obsolescent, and to then see, to look at the history of the features. So how come that they've become obsolescent, and actually what happens with them on their way to being lost? Are they being lost, or do people recycle them in a kind of sustainable manner?
Okay, thank you so much, Laura. I realized that I did not introduce myself, so I'll do that now. My name is Alyssa Kamps. I am a bachelor student at the Vrije Universiteit. I'm in the last year of my bachelor program, Communication and Information Studies. I'm writing my thesis specializing in English language and communication, and I've also been a mentor and a student assistant for the Mooc project over the past year and a half now. This has been a great opportunity for me to develop my research skills, but also learn more about how English pronunciation works. And I've been very honored to work with both Laura and Amrita, who will introduce herself now, if she wishes.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. Hi, I'm Amrita. I'm a mentor on the Mooc. I'm also a teacher trainer at the Learn Academy at Vrije Universiteit. I'm also a PhD student researching in cultural mobility and looking at the particular form of the ghazal. I've worked with Laura on the Mooc for a fairly long time now, but it's been an honor also to work with Alyssa and Erica, and also now Bahar, who's joining us as a mentor in the future runs. Thank you, Alyssa. I'll give the floor back to you.
Sure. And Erica is also a fellow mentor of mine, so maybe she would like to introduce herself too.
Absolutely. Thank you. My name is Erica Costa. I am also studying at the Vrije Universiteit, the same program, so the Communication and Information Studies. My specialization is in language learning and language teaching. In general, I have discovered through my work with the Mooc over the past year plus, I think now, just the overwhelming love that I have for working with all of the learners and with linguistics in general. I think that this is a great opportunity, and I am really, really happy to be able to not only put some of the knowledge that I have rattling around, but not only to be able to put it into practice, but it's really great to be able to interact with this community that we've been able to build. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Erica. And as Amrita mentioned earlier, we also have Bahar joining us today for this live session. And I'd like to ask her to introduce herself.
Yes, of course. Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be here. As Alisa said, my name is Bahar. I'm a psychology student on my third year bachelor's. And I will be joining the next round, but I've recently joined as a mentor to the Mooc. And yeah, I hope you will enjoy this session today.
Thank you. So now you know who we all are. As I said, the aim of this session is really to make sure that you can get your last burning questions into Laura. And so that's what we will begin with now. And I believe Erica has some questions that have come in over the past few weeks that she will pose to Laura. So
yes, thank you. So we looked through some of the comments and we've isolated some questions that I think would just be beneficial for everyone to hear from you, Lara. So starting with our first one, which is, what would you consider to be the minimum level in an international standard English test to determine intelligibility and credibility when a person speaks?
Thank you for that question, Erica, through the learner. It's an interesting question. I think it's also it's an intricate question to answer. I mean, it would be great if there was just like one English test, or there would be one variety of English that we could speak, and that would ensure that we would be intelligible and credible in relation to everyone. That doesn't exist. I guess that the International Standard English Test that is being referred to, so what I have in mind then, or what I'm thinking of then, is one of these tests that when you successfully complete the test, then you're eligible to attend a particular course, or you're qualified to apply for a particular job. These tests, they're very much generally still focused on standard English. So when you pass that test, yes, then you will be intelligible in those environments. Yeah, so at universities, for instance, but also in professional settings. So standard English is still very much used. Also, I would say then you will be credible, presumably at a more general level, because standard English still has high prestige in society. But then again, it's a fact of life that not everyone in the world speaks standard English. So we all speak different varieties of English. And so as pointed out in the Mooc, what researchers in linguistics do is try to identify features that are important for intelligibility, or that bear on intelligibility, and features that do not. But even so, whether or not you're intelligible to someone, it depends very much on factors that we cannot control. Like, for example, the person that we speak with, or this person that we communicate with. So for example, for me, somebody from the Netherlands speaking English is generally more easier to understand than somebody speaking a language that is very different from the language that I speak, for instance, some of the Asian languages. So it depends on various factors. And I think what is important, and this is why the course is called English Pronunciation in a Global World, is not only to pass a test. Yes, that is important, because at the moment it will give you access to a particular study, or you can then apply for a particular job. But it's, I would say, equally important in practice to to be flexible in the English that you speak, so that you're able to accommodate depending on the person that you speak English with. So to just give one concrete example, I once taught a guest lecture at a university in Ghana, and the students there, when I started speaking, I realized that actually they found it rather difficult to understand the way that I spoke English. So then I tried to accommodate my English to the variety of English that they spoke. And also think when you try to accommodate your English to your interlocutor, then it will also possibly or presumably enhance your credibility, because by accommodating to the person that you're communicating with, you show that you have an particular interest in them, or that you try to relate to where they're from. So it's a long answer to a question that is there's not one answer. So for standard English, yes, but then for other varieties of English, it depends on a range of different factors. And I would say, the best thing we can do is to try to be flexible.
I think that's a great answer. I think that, at least personally, what I liked about this question is that it is both a long and a short answer. I think even just looking at, those of us interacting right now, I'm from New York, and I speak, English from New York, and Alyssa speaks more Canadian English, and in between us, we're still both speaking North American English, and there's still variability between us. And you can see there's just so much spectrum, and it really depends on, what you're going to do. I think it's really at the core of what we do here. And I think it's a wonderful thing to get the opportunity to discuss more. So moving forward, our next question is a bit more technical. So our learner wants to know, sometimes when I am having a conversation with my friends, they tell me that I pronounce work instead of walk. I need to identify what kind of pronunciation mistake I'm making.
Thanks very much for asking this question. What I think is that it has to do with a different pronunciation of the vowel sound. So that the person who asked the question pronounces, so when meaning to pronounce the word walk, pronounces the vowel in that occurs in work. So I think it's a vowel issue, but to make sure, I would have to know a little more, or I would have to hear it myself also. I wanted to say that I would very much like to encourage the person who asked this question to contact us. And then I will contact that person to see what is going on exactly. I also said, thank you very much for the question, because it's like a concrete example of a pronunciation issue that people struggle with and that we may not be familiar with, from our own experience. And that we might then incorporate within a module in the Mooc. So like I said, I think it's a vowel issue. Maybe also could be pronouncing the or attempting to pronounce the consonant sound l in walk, which is actually not pronounced in English, and that may then sound like an R. So I think that's roughly what is going on. But again, to make sure, please contact us, and then we can discuss it more.
Thank you. And I agree. I think I've already commented on someone's question and in the comment section before that we love any question or comment that gets us to quietly whisper words to ourselves behind our desks. We're all just a bunch of language nerds over here, and we find this very exciting, and it's really lovely to have, like Laura said, these very concrete examples. It's also a really great chance to give you very direct help. So reach out.
Absolutely.
Okay, so moving on to the next question. I am concerned with the difficulties I have with pronunciation. For example, the difference between the sounds of r and h in red and head. I have been unable to pronounce them, showing proper differences. When I speak, they all sound the same.
And that's just like, again, another really, I think, perhaps not for the person who asked the question concerned nice, but for us, like an interesting example of a concrete pronunciation difficulty that speakers may have and that we may not have ourselves. I would say I'm not, I can imagine that it's difficult to make a distinction between those two sounds, because what those two sounds have in common is that they're pronounced like in the back of the mouth, both r and h. I think the major difference between them is that with h in head, we produce what is called a friction sound. So we make some noise. And the best way I could explain it is, for example, if you're, at least this is what happens for people in the Netherlands. I don't know if it's the same around the world, but when people in the Netherlands, when they get tired or when they're out of breath, for example, when they run up the stairs or whatever, then we might say like, make that kind of sound. Is that the same for you also?
Yeah, in general.
Yeah, in general.
I love a big sigh.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that is the kind of sound that we would make, like, and that's the sound, exactly the kind of sound that we make in the word head rather than red. So I would say that's a major difference between those two sounds. That in the case of h, we create what is called friction in English in the pronunciation of that sound, as opposed to the r in red.
Okay, and my final question from the learners. I have always had trouble understanding the different vowel sounds vis-a-vis the position of the tongue and the lips, or etc. Can you recommend anything to help me with this?
So to distinguish the different vowel sounds, right? In terms of lips and, yeah.
In terms of like physical articulation.
In terms of physical articulation, I can, similarly as with the previous question, I can understand that is difficult. So partly because some of the vowel sounds, they're fairly similar. Yeah, so to then distinguish them in terms of those parameters is difficult. It just is. But also, what I would say is, I'm not sure how the person who asked the question has been approaching this. But what I would not do as a learner of English pronunciation is try to kind of remember all the different positions of the jaw and the lips and the tongue and so on and so forth when learning about the pronunciation of English sound. So only when there is a difficulty, so only when a vowel sound differs from, in English, differs from a vowel sound in your native language, I would try and use, you could try and use those parameters to see then how those two sounds differ. So this may help.
Thank you so much. I sympathize deeply with this learner. Yeah. I think as adults, especially as adult learners, we try to approach language learning and any other task as, simple rules and try to look at things from a very technical and intellectual standpoint. And I think that the difficult things with language is you just kind of got to feel it sometimes,
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. And as you were saying, to not consider to look at those parameters, I have to learn them by heart, or I have to learn the characteristics of those vowel sounds before I can actually pronounce them. But just use them as a tool whenever there is a difference between two sounds in two vowel sounds between English and your native language, and to then see whether those parameters may help you distinguish between those two sounds.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe, at least from my personal experience, just for studies, there's lots of, if you look up a particular vowel, there's lots of very detailed YouTube videos, which will show you entire diagrams as to how the tongue is positioned and the lips and all those things.
Mhm.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
And I will hand it off to Alyssa because she also has some questions for you.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah, so we selected these comments from learners in order to showcase some of the more common issues, or to, as Erica's questions were, to give good examples of some technical issues that can occur. The questions I've selected from learners are in slightly different vein than what Erica discussed. These are more about the image of accents and how that impacts what we want to use English pronunciation for, and the role that it takes in the lives of the learners. So the first question that I would like to pose to Laura is from a learner who says, I'm a teacher and British pronunciation is preferred in my country. I can imitate the British accent when reading, but I find it hard when speaking. Also, I am not sure about how many rules there are. I kind of follow them by heart. What are the fundamentals of the British accent besides the R? I would also like to understand better how to handle the aspiration.
All right, so so what are the fundamentals of the British accent? So the way that I understand that question is how the British or the English accent, because again, they're different British English accents actually, but how let's say the standard English accent differs from American English. So indeed, rhoticity is one feature. I think there are a number of other basic features. For example, having to do with vowel pronunciation. So the vowel in the word, so that is spelled A, so in words like dance and bath, for example, is pronounced as I was pronouncing it, dance and bath in the standard English accent, but dance. For example, in American English, dance and friends and so on. Yeah. So that I think is a major vowel difference. Another difference, a salient difference, I think, concerns the pronunciation of the consonant T when it occurs in between two vowel sounds, which in the standard English accent is pronounced T, so water. But in American is tapped or flapped or whatever you want to call it, but it has more like a D quality, water, for example. So these are three basic differences between standard English and American English. There are more. And so what I would like to point out also, perhaps interesting for other learners in the course, is that in step 2.1 in the Mooc, there is a link to a website from the Oxford English Dictionary. And the Oxford English Dictionary has provided characterizations of a number of accents, not only standard English accent versus American English, but also as compared to, their range, as a matter of fact, they've included a range of World Englishes, like Nigerian English, for example, but also Australian English. So what are the basic differences between those accents? And I remember that we've had questions from learners in the past asking us, can we have comparisons not only between English and American English, but other World Englishes also. And we can do this ourselves, of course, but what I would like to do in the Mooc is to also draw from material that other institutions have provided. And the Oxford English Dictionary has made an excellent start with providing comparisons between a range of different accents in English. So I would recommend that the person who asked the question consults step 2.1 in the course, and then I think it's the fourth link to a website from the Oxford English Dictionary.
Thank you, Laura. And I mean, just from my own personal experience, I think maybe more of us have had that experience that when you spend time or you with people who speak in a certain way, or you continuously hear the accent in a movie or a podcast or something like that, you kind of notice yourself picking up these idiosyncrasies, even subconsciously. So another thing that I would recommend is listening practice. So find movies where they speak with a standard English accent, and I think you'll find that you'll pick up on some of the differences that Laura just mentioned, and it might also help you to incorporate them more into your speech if that's the kind of accent that you are hoping to achieve. So yeah. And I also had one more question that I'd like to highlight, and it was from a learner who says, I'd like to know if speaking certain words with the US accent and some with the British accent is acceptable in the international world, because it happens to me with certain words. For example, the rhoticity and the pronunciation of O and in most words. So I think this is a question we get a lot, mixing different accents. And this is also kind of in a similar vein to the first, but I think a lot of learners, we see it recurring. Does it affect their credibility to mix British English or American English insofar as you would say, Laura?
Yeah, it depends. I think it depends a little on what you mean by the international world, or it depends a little on the situation that you're in. So it might be that you're working, I don't know, for an organization or for an office where they require you to have, just either or only a British English accent or only an American English accent. It might well be that this is what is required there. But I would say otherwise in the international world, mixing American English and English, I think these days we find English mixed with a range of features from other languages also. I do remember also in education in the Netherlands that this is what Dutch students of English at Vrije Universiteit have told me, that always, at school they were told never mix English with American English. It's something that you shouldn't do. I don't think it affects intelligibility at all. As far as credibility is concerned, like I said, it depends on the situation that you're in. But if you're not expected, in your job or at your studies to only use English or American English, then I would say it is not a problem for credibility either. And I would also say that actually also what I've learned from my students at Vrije Universiteit, that they like mixing their English, not only mixing between American English and English, but also mixing features from various other, not only from their native language, but various other places that they visited. Like, I don't know, when I was doing some volunteer work in Australia, then I use these words a lot, and I still like to use them in the English that I speak now in the Netherlands. Or I've had a friend from, I don't know, from Spain, and there they had this particular feature that somehow I really like, so I'm still using it in my own English. So I think mixing American and English, it's relatively innocent perhaps, or it can be a much greater mixture between features, maybe from your native language, but also from other languages that you've encountered. And if you do not find yourself in a situation where they, as I was saying, ask you to stick to one particular accent, I don't think it matters where credibility or intelligibility is concerned.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. And I also wanted to share that I think growing up, I was educated at an American school for my elementary and high school education. So I was taught how to write, and I picked up on how to speak with American English. But I'm from Canada, where British English it's heavily influenced by British English, and that's the standard in writing and for a lot of other words. So growing up, I remember thinking that it would be more of a problem, specifically when writing or was speaking with people. I remember that I would try and think, oh, I shouldn't use this word or I shouldn't say that. When in reality, it hasn't really become much of an issue at all. And I think, as Laura said, I think it really depends on the context, and probably only when writing would you maybe want to try and stick to one certain style or another. And otherwise, I think different features in an English accent or something, it's something that makes you who you are, and is something that can also be a beautiful way of showcasing stories you have to tell, or things you've learned and experiences you've had. So I think it's only a great thing. And again, in the right contexts, maybe it could be beneficial to try and stick to one. But I think you'll find it's not as much of a problem as you might think. So thank you very much, Laura, for answering those questions from our learners. I hope that it was able to help many of you as well to see some of these examples, and to hear Laura answer them in real time. And yeah, we thank you very much. And I would like to pass the floor to Amrita now, so she could introduce Bahar a little bit more, and maybe we could hear some from her about her experience with English pronunciation.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. Alyssa, before I ask Bahar to delve into her experiences with English, we have one question on the online live platform in YouTube. And the question is, and this is for you, Laura, the person asks, I found out I have a problem with a thought vowel and a goat diphthong. Is there anything else besides exercises in this course to improve my pronunciation?
Let me first say that I understand that it's difficult to make the distinction, because the sounds, they are relatively similar, to the extent that one of the elements in the goat diphthong is similar to the thought vowel. So in addition to exercises, I actually quite liked one of the suggestions that Alyssa made previously. So to not only do exercises, but also to listen to English speaking. So either on the radio and or the television, for example, and then see if you can first hear the difference, and then making the difference yourself might become easier.
That's a very good tip, and a tip that one can utilize almost immediately. It doesn't need to require an investment of any sort. So that's
yeah. So in the Mooc, so there's some examples of words that have the thought vowel, and there's some examples of words that have the goat vowel. So if you then remember those words, and then listen to English being spoken, and then to the pronunciation and so then you could focus on those words and the pronunciation of those words.
Thank you so much for that advice, Laura. I hope that answers your question and helps you with your practice. I wanted to extend also a very warm welcome to our new external Mooc mentor, Bahar. Bahar, thank you for joining us today.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really happy and honored to be a part of your team.
Well, we are very happy to have you with us. Bahar, tell us a little bit about yourself, like where do you come from? What's your experience with English?
Of course. I'm from Iran, so we speak Persian or Farsi there. I started learning English when I was young, at the age of 10 or 12. I've been practicing speaking, and at the school we also had English language courses, but it's not that much of a quality, so I had to get extra courses myself out of school. And after that I immigrated to the Netherlands, and fortunately everybody speaks English here, so I had the chance to improve my English here as well. For the rest, I study psychology, and I'm very much into people and their interactions. And I see English as a really great feature to increase these interactions and enhance the interactions between people.
Indeed. That's such an important point, Bahar. It's such a link language between people, between cultures even. Yeah. But tell me, like when you think about English, the way Persian people speak in English, is there anything that stands out, or is there anything particular?
Well, yes. Well, we have a specific kind of accent when we talk English. I don't know if you can hear it in my English as well. I don't, but I cannot hear my own accent. But one of the funny features that Farsi pronunciation has when we tend to speak English is that when there are some words that start with S, for example, speak, we tend to put an E before the S, so we say speak instead of speak, or any kind of word that starts with S, silent or yes. So we tend to put an E before the S. And I find that's always very funny, and I hear that from all the Iranian people that I know that they speak like that.
That's quite insightful, right? That's adding a whole vowel to a sound. So,
Yes.
and tell me, Bahar, what are you most looking forward to on the MOOC?
Well, I'm really, really happy that I can be a part of it. First of all, because it's really nice to show everyone that there is no stigma in accents when people speak English, and it helps diversity, and diversity is always beautiful in everything that you look into. The most important part is that we can all understand each other when we speak English, and we can have those interactions that I was talking about. And it's really nice that we can help everyone understand each other and understand that diversity and different accents and pronunciations are beautiful. And I hope I can also help that as well.
I think you most certainly will, Bahar. What a beautiful thought.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for sharing that with us.
Thanks.
Thank you, Bahar. And we look forward to having you on the MOOC with us. And please do share your thoughts, ideas, and suggestions so that we can facilitate the experience for our learners and for you.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Bahar. Alyssa, can I give the floor back to you?
Sure. Thank you so much, Amrita.
Sorry, Alisa. Sorry.
Go ahead. No,
Oh,
absolutely.
Sorry. No. This was not part of the script that we had. But I just wanted to ask Bahar one more question. I just thought of it when you were asking her your questions, Amrita, and I wanted to ask Bahar, because we've been referring to Persian and Farsi. Is there a difference between the two, or how are the two terms used?
The two terms are equal, but they can be used interchangeably.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Farsi is like, Laura, the local way of saying Persian. Persian is the more anglicized way of saying it. Farsi is how locals would say that this is our language. It's a bit like saying Dutch and Netherlands.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I see. Okay. Good. And one more question is that, so what you explained about the vowel sound, that you put S before the vowel sound, that reminds, I think, Alyssa also a little of Spanish. Mm-hmm. Because Spanish speakers do that also, but do you also have it when there's just an S and no consonant, like for instance in the word, I don't know, sofa, would you then also put no. Then so it's only with a cluster. Okay, so actually very similar to what Spanish speakers do. So that's nice for us to know that there's this similarity. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
and this is such a wonderful way to show what our mentors bring to the MOOC, this sort of share of ideas of what accents or what vowels or sounds, intonation bring into research and the practice in the MOOC. This is a wonderful example of that. And therefore, we invite more and more participants also to, if they would like to volunteer or would like to contribute to the MOOC, then they can also become mentors and contribute just in the manner just now Bahar did to the process. And Alyssa, I'll just take a minute. I think this is an excellent time also to say that in week 4, 4.3 part of the MOOC, you do have a form in which if you want to apply as a mentor, that you can apply through that link. So we would encourage you greatly to do that, especially if you are of a language group that we haven't yet developed in the MOOC or are looking at developing further in the future period, then it would definitely be something that we want to start a conversation with you with. So please do contact us. Alyssa, I'll give the floor back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Amrita, and thank you, Bahar. I think this absolutely really showcases the what mentors bring to the table and what the external mentors can help us do, because of course we can only contribute our own fields of knowledge, and how much the better if we have so much more insights about different accents. And I think somebody who has that deeper knowledge of their own native language and the pronunciation issues that arise for them or for their peers, it can only help us develop the Mooc even further. So we look forward to maybe hearing from more of you who would be interested in sharing what you might think would be helpful to see in the Mooc, the type of pronunciation exercises that you think that you would benefit from, or that others that you know who are learning English might benefit from. So as Amrita said, please get in touch. We would love to hear from you. And this is also something that we think is the power and the beauty of the Mooc, is that it's a community where learners can come together and we can learn from each other. Just as we can share knowledge with you, we are also taking knowledge from you and learning from you in turn. So this is something that we think is really special about the Mooc, and that we like to try and highlight in these live sessions. So I think I will pass the floor to Erica, who has a special announcement concerning this for this session.
Thank you, Alyssa. Yes, as we mentioned a little bit at the top of this meeting, we reached a pretty big benchmark for the Mooc, which is we now have over 100,000 participants. We really can't stress enough how much at the start of every Mooc, we are always so delighted to see all of the participants interacting and the community that's building around this English pronunciation learning. And we're just elated to see everything that our little team has helped to create, and this environment that the mentors have helped to garner of free and open communication. And not only are we always happy to share our own knowledge, but like we just saw, the knowledge shared between the learners themselves is absolutely invaluable. And it's something that we can't imagine how you could have come across in any other manner. And it's an absolute joy. And so again, taking this moment to celebrate our little benchmark, which is frankly pretty monumentous for us. We are going to move forward, and in honor of taking the moment to show our deep appreciation for the learners, because it is you guys that make this a community. I mean, at the end of the day, if it wasn't for you guys, it's speaking to an empty room. It's you guys that help each other out and help create those deeply impactful interactions. So we would like to highlight one of our learners who we feel has done an excellent job at creating or helping to maintain our little community. So Maria Cecilia Romero, congratulations. You have been selected for a free upgrade to the Mooc course. And we thank you so much again for your contribution and to helping build up this platform, and for sharing your meaningful experiences in English pronunciation. And we hope that this upgrade will help to continue your development and help you with your teacher training efforts. We'll be reaching out soon through our email, so stay tuned.
Thank you so much, Erica, and congratulations, Maria. We're so happy, as Erica said, to see learners who take the time to share insights with us about their pronunciation. As we just mentioned, that's what helps us learn and grow, but also other learners. They can feel seen in shared experiences. So we really appreciate your contribution. And now, as a way to wrap up the session today, I'd like to pass the floor to Laura, who will give a closing note for this facilitated run.
Thanks so much, Alyssa. I just wanted to say that I hope that everyone, all our learners, have been as well as possible. So during the past time, during the pandemic and in the Netherlands, so the situation is a bit less severe now than it has been. And I hope that is the same in the part of the world where you are. Otherwise, I had things to say, but as a matter of fact, Alyssa and Erica, I think, have already said them in a way. I'm not sure that I can say it any better than them, but I just think that this situation, that it illustrates how I I created the Mooc on my own, of course, with help from my colleagues, some of my colleagues at Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam. So he helped me with the technical aspects of the exercises. Certainly shouldn't forget them and also mention them. But then the Mooc started, and then Amrita joined me in the team, and then Alyssa and Erica as mentors, and we've had external mentors, and now we also have Bahar. Erica and Alyssa, like I said, already mentioned this. So we created the Mooc and we're facilitating the Mooc, but the Mooc wouldn't function or it wouldn't work without all of the input of the learners. So we're very happy that we reached that particular benchmark. But we were all as happy with the very first learner of the Mooc and also with the number 250 and 2058 and so on and so forth. It's really that the Mooc exists because of you. So please continue providing comments, questions also, like some of the questions about particular pronunciation issues. They're very helpful. They help us realize that perhaps there are more issues that we are aware of ourselves. So please keep sending the comments. Also, we would appreciate it very much if there were learners in the course who would be willing to become mentors like Erica and Alyssa and Bahar now. Because we just saw an example when Bahar explained about putting the vowel in front of the S sound, how the input from mentors speaking particular language will further develop the Mooc. I myself learn every day from comments that learners make. So I would say thank you very much, all of you, for your input and your also your perseverance, because English pronunciation, I think it's an interesting and it's a nice topic, but it's pretty difficult to develop and to understand all of the different features. The course only 4 weeks, but don't expect from yourself that you should have, managed to use all of these features in a particular way already. It's something that you need to keep working on, just like practicing playing the piano. And some features as non-native speakers we will never master as well, perhaps as native speakers, but still then we have got our own features and we are as intelligible and credible as the native speakers. So as a final note, this is what I wanted to say, Alyssa.
Thank you so much, Laura. I think the learners, all the participants, I'm sure they were so grateful to hear from you throughout this live session. And we also thank you so much for joining us here today. I'll pass the floor to Amrita if she would also like to, and invite her to say something to close off the session.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. Thank you, Laura. Well, Laura, thank you for creating this Mooc, and thank you for having this very inclusive outlook, perspective on sharing this Mooc with our learners. It's so valuable. And I think through the pandemic, we have seen it really grow as a community. So thank you for creating this space for our learners. We would also like to thank all our mentors, Alyssa, Erica, and Bahar, for all the hard work that you put in constantly helping the learners in our Mooc. And of course, Alyssa and Erica have already thanked our learners, but we, as you could see, we absolutely love being part of the Mooc and part of your learning and growth process. So thank you so much for including us in this process. If you have missed today's live session, not to worry, we will be keeping the video of this MOOC on our YouTube channel so that you can watch it at any time. Feel free to share it with your fellow learners, with your colleagues who can benefit from this video. We would also like to inform you once again that if you want to be a mentor on the MOOC, you can apply through the form, which is at step 4.3 of the MOOC. That's on week 4. Also, on behalf of Vrije Universiteit, Future Learn, our little team here, we want to thank you for joining us here today. And for those who will watch this video later, we wish you good health and good luck. Thank you so much. From the whole team here, we'd like to say bye to you.